Hello and welcome to a very good channel. My name's Avery, and yes, we're back again speedrunning the Meeblings. We'll be starting the timer as soon as I click on the first level, and this is not the first run of me doing this 100% speedrun. So first we start off by pulling the guys over. This is, the first base 10 levels like you saw just before. So we're going to do the same old usual. This is not quite as stressful considering this is a much longer speedrun. I mean, it is stressful for the fact that how long it takes, but at the same time, it's not so hard to the point in which where I need to focus on every single minor detail. So there are a couple times in which I do reset during this run, and yes, those are some pretty major time losses, unfortunately. But a lot of stuff in this game is, even though there's like a good decent amount of skill, there's also a bit of luck. And even world records struggled with a few of these levels in the process. And that's actually what we're aiming for today, is for world record. And so, again, we're just pulling over these guys to go inside of the way out sign, and boom, we're all done. We're going to push these guys over towards the fan so they blow over to the way out sign. That's the continuous normal thing. And so, as we're going along, we're hitting the 10th level, so we're about to see some new levels. And so this red guy, he breaks the ground below him, and we're just going to wait, hover over the yellow guy, so that way as soon as we're done using the red, so you don't even have to hold your mouse over them. You can just click and hold, and they'll do their activity or their function. And already on the next level, we're going to press and hold, already set. And we're just waiting for them to all get into the way outside. Boom, done. And they can actually also destroy these logs. So they just burn through them. I was wasting a bit of time by being hesitant with him. And then, boom, all right, he got through. And then we can pull all these guys over, all set to go. And so now I want to be a little more careful with how I do this. I already messed up a little bit with that red dude, because the goal for him is to be able to just roll into the way out sign. But luckily I can just pull them up the hill. They'll roll down, and I do that one more time for this little orange guy, and he's going to roll down the hill, and then he'll get to the way out sign. All done. And I want to pull all these yellow guys over to this wall. Some of them are going to bounce off. And then I'm going to pull them over towards the way out sign, but I'm not going to pull them too hard, because if I do, they may go flying off the far right side and they will die. If they die, then I will fail the level and have to reset. So those green guys, as you saw, they just turned into trees, which is weird, but we're watching a game with these little, like, oval-esque shaped Meebling things. I don't even know what to call them. You could call them cells. I just messed up because the blue guy went off the side of the screen. So we need the blue guy to actually push everyone over towards the way out sign. But if he goes off the screen, he can't do that because he dies. So I got to be a little more careful with how I'm getting all these oranges down, because they will push. But if you are holding the people to do their function, they will not move. So I just have to make sure to be more careful. Turn that green guy into a tree, and then we're going to shout them up the hill. Boom, next level. This level I have to be a little more careful, because if I don't do it correctly, or if I lose more than 2 guys, I will fail. And so I already lost 1, so I just have to make sure not to lose any more. And then my goal is just to get some people over carefully. I got 2 blues up there, which isn't the best, so I'm going to pull them back. And I just failed. And if they say to try again, it makes them like do the auto reset, which takes more time. So it's actually quicker to click the reset button yourself if you can do it before the fail function happens. So now again, I'm just going to pull them over to the other side to try to keep it easy and safe. I lost 1 because I wasn't pushing hard enough, and I tried to get that one over as soon as I could, but I just couldn't. And I have to now, I think, get the exact amount. So now I got to be careful. And I don't know if I was able to, I don't think I'm able to beat it this time around. So I had to reset again. And yeah, so this one's very particular. And so if you're really just not careful, it can cause you have to reset again and again and again. And unfortunately, I think I was just a bit too reckless with this run. But it was still a pretty okay run, so I was just figuring go through it. Why not? Because what have I got to lose? And so I just keep trying and trying and trying again until eventually I again pulling the guys over. I'm gonna push them away, trying not to have anyone roll off the edge. So another thing is trying to make sure you can control these guys with the proper accuracy. My best bet would be to get a yellow on the top level up there. But that's easier said than done, of course. And so I got to figure out which blue guy would be the best option. So I decided to go and try to get the mass amount. And so now I only lost one, which means if I get just 2 more in, or actually the rest of them, boom, done, perfect. This one I also have to be careful and very actually slow with. If I lose more than 2 to those red fans, the red fans will actually suck them up and destroy them. So it's the equivalent of them going off the screen. So right now I'm trying to get another one of those yellow ones to fall down so that, like, at the same bottom level of touching the grass. Yes, everyone, go touch some grass. To be able to just not go into those fans. They can potentially not go into the fans while being at that higher level, but it's just much more likely that they will fly up in there. So that's why I'm going very, very, very slow, making sure not to make them jump around too much. Because see, even just the slice bit caused those two to go up. So now I just need to get the rest of them in, no more dying, and I'll be good to go. So that last one fell in, and so now I can just press and hold, and they'll all roll into the way out sign, and that's the next level. Boom. And now we want to click on this green dude, and he turns into a tree, protects them from going into the fan. Now we want to be a little careful, try to make sure we don't get our little Meeblings stuck, like I just did, unfortunately, right there. So now I have a little bit of a blockage, and the issue is also, if I end up pulling on them too hard, that will happen. They'll end up jumping over the way out sign and going into the fan. So I had to reset, and that's also another bit of a time loss. So that's a bummer, but you know, it's okay. Run's still going pretty okay, and I just gotta quickly get these guys unstuck. Okay, now I'm pulling them over again, and finally getting them all unstuck, and just carefully bring them over to the way outside, and we're good to go. Perfect. So this pink guy, we're gonna pull him over, and he actually changes the gravity, or I guess it's actually a she. Yes, the pink one, we're making that one a she. Definitely a she, because absolutely. Gotta love the little pink one. Pink is adorable. You know, pink is a pretty manly color, too. I don't know. I mean, I like the color pink. Pink is a pretty good color. Color of cotton candy. I like cotton candy. If you don't like cotton candy, well, that's your choice. And I'll support that. And so now this one can go either really good or really bad. Usually it's not too complicated, and I managed to get through it pretty quick. This one's annoying, however, because you have to try to get them all off these little vacuum disco ball things, and trying to do that is very, very frustrating. Because they're trying to click on them, as you can see, is not the easiest task, especially when they're zooming all about. But I'm going to pull them all into the center so they kind of get towards the way out sign, the ones that are left. And then I need to get this blue down to the others so I can hopefully shout them, because that's what the blue guy does, is he shouts and he pushes them away. So I need him to shout these other ones off the disco ball vacuum-like things. And so I actually changed the gravity for a bit to try to get the pink one off, which changing the gravity is a little risky considering those red fans are on the ceiling. So I usually almost never click him unless, or her, or whatever, yes, the pink one, unless I'm desperate. And I was desperate. Now I just need to get them, since I have 7 down there, I need 9 to be in there in all. So I just need to pull them in, and boom, perfect. Now I need to make sure I turn off the fans using the gray guy. The gray guy can turn off all electronics. And so that means any kind of fans. That's pretty much all there is electronic-wise in this. So the gray one is great. So now I want to be careful to make sure to try to get all these Meeblings out from the top. And now I want to pull them all into the center. And once I get some into the center, I'm going to shout the Meeblings to go up, pull them all towards the middle, and then drop them down, and then instantly turn on the fans again to blow them up. And we're done with that level. Now this is kind of like a buddy level, because the pink one and the yellow one are going to be hanging out, having fun, going up and down, enjoying the wonders of gravity manipulation. Now, one thing is you want to make sure they stay together, because this is a buddy. You got to stay with their buddy. And so there's a moment where I almost had them separated. I managed to click on the pink one really quick and then get them back together. I just want to make sure that they don't go backwards and continue to go forward. the issue is sometimes you can get them separated, and if you get the pink one in and not the yellow one in, then the yellow one could get stuck, and that could be a problem. This one is just a bunch of pulling and pushing, and so you kind of have to be a little patient with it, trying to make sure they don't get stuck. And so just gonna pull and push, and you need to make sure to get all but one of them in, so make sure that none of them die. If any of them die, then it's gonna be a problem, and you're gonna have to reset, which is a real big time loss for this one, because this one takes a decent amount of time. So just again, going through the process of pulling and pushing, and then we're going to use the red to break through the floor. He's going to bounce into the way out sign, then we're going to use that one to fall down. Perfect. This one can be a little frustrating because you need to be very gentle with your clicking on the mouse. But luckily I had found a way to do this very efficiently. So you just want to get the yellow one down there, and then you can slowly continue to click on him, and he'll slowly drag the others to go over and then bounce off of him to go into the way out sign. Sometimes they don't bounce down, and that can be a little annoying, but usually they do, because you need all but one to get in there for this one. And so now I'm just slowly trying to get this last one down. They're gonna bounce, or at least I was hoping, but that's not what happened. So now we're just trying to get them over, and I may have just messed this up. Yes, I did. So now I have to try to do that again, but again, that is easier said than done. And so I'm trying my best to figure out what would be the best course of action. So I decided to pull this over, thinking maybe I could get this blue one to bounce off of the yellow and then into the way out sign. But I had to be very careful. So I'm just going as slow as I can, just hoping that maybe it will just go in the right motion, and we did it. Okay, perfect. Next level. Oh, this level is just, this is the worst level in my opinion. Even World Record complained about this level. So this is like the most luck-based level there is. You need to turn that guy into a tree, and then your goal is to get the blue one right on top of the yellow one, and then have almost none of these orange guys fall over the top of the tree into that fan. You have to get so many of them in there, and they're constantly being pulled by the fan. When they get to a certain point, when they get past a certain threshold, they're no longer being pulled by that fan, but they will continue to get pulled back. And I think you can lose like maybe 4, if that, before you have to reset the run. I was getting pretty lucky here, so I only lost 2 so far, and so I was just crossing my fingers, hoping and praying that I would get there. But right now, so I have 2 that are sitting behind me, and I'm basically at the point where I just have to push and hope that it's enough. But no, I need 20, so it just didn't do it. So I was so determined, and like, maybe I can get this guy to go in front of me, but there was no way it was gonna happen. So I just knew I had to reset. So again, going back and retrying again, trying to get the blue guy right on top of the yellow one, and failed. So that means it's reset again. I don't know how many times I ended up having to reset this level when speedrunning this overall, because this was probably my 5th speedrun of this game, at least, that I hadn't reset just out of frustration. Because this game, you'd be surprised how many bits are just feel like they're just from luck. Yes, there is a lot of skill associated with it, but this one, you just have to hope you get lucky with it. I feel like that's what it is anyway. I mean, if there is some skill to it, yeah, you have to be very like touchy about how much you click it. As you can see, I'm like incrementally pushing them forward just a little bit at a time. And this looks like I might be able to make it through this time around, but it was not an easy task, that is for sure. And yes, we managed to get through, and now we're on this level where you have to take it slow. I know it didn't look like I took it slow in that moment, but this is the part where you take it slow. So you want to just have them go straight down. If they are even slightly off, they are going to go into those red fans, and you need all of the orange guys to go into the way out. Otherwise, you're not going to pass this level. So it's just very carefully clicking, slowly inching them over. I was a little aggressive with that one, but now we just need one more. Gotta be real careful, and come on, and there we go. All right, now again to the next level, and so right now our goal is to get this red guy right on that bottom shelf, and then click on him, because then he's going to break the log, and they're all gonna fall in there. Next level, perfect. And so this one's a little annoying, but it's not too bad. So you need all but one of them to go in. And so I was kind of playing around with it, trying to figure out the best way I should go about it, even though I had been speedrunning it multiple times. Sometimes different methods just work in the moment. And so I had to figure it out and just think, okay, what's going to be best for right now? And so I'm sure there is a best method, but I did not figure it out for this level. So, in this moment, I had figured out that worked the best. And I always mess up in the very beginning of that, but so you want to do is turn off the fans, then bring them over, turn the fans back on, and then turn them off and bring the guys back over again. You don't even have to get all those specific ones over. You could have just gotten like one over and then pull the other two over with the leftovers. So with this one, if you get 5 of those guys stuck, you can only get 5 of those guys stuck in the pink section. If you get any more, you can't beat the level. So you have to be very careful on what you're doing. And so this level can also take a bit of time, and I believe World Record also struggled on this level too. So I was trying to be very cautious and careful. What I usually like to do is have at least 1 yellow, 1 blue, and I definitely want to get the pink ones stuck in the pink section, because that way I don't accidentally take the pink one into the way out area, because if you do that, you can't beat the level. And so that is very frustrating on its own. And at this point, I was feeling pretty good about it, and so I was just slowly bringing them over. I have 11, and I believe I needed, how many was it? 20? I think it was about 20. And so I was just bringing them over. I was like, okay, I want to get the pink one stuck. So what I'm going to do is move them over a little bit and then have them drop down, so that way I could get the pink one stuck. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to get as much over as I can and see if I can finish this out. So I was bringing them over. I was definitely going to get a few stuck, it seemed like, but then I managed to pull those guys over. So I was like, all right, perfect. So now I just had a little bit left. So what I should have done was pull those guys down. Yep, perfect. I pulled them down, and I get them over. Just got to be very careful and make sure that none of them get stuck there. Then make sure I'm not too aggressive, because if they end up bouncing off the roof, they can touch the pink, and that actually has screwed me up on previous runs. Okay, now I have 4 stuck. So what I need to do is be very careful and make sure no more get stuck. Or I can get 1 more stuck, but if I get them both stuck, it's going to be game over. And so now I'm feeling pretty eager, so I'm pulling them over pretty hard, and I got to the next level. If those bounced, it would have been super bad and a huge time loss. Now this level on its own can be a little frustrating. At the top of the screen, it's not too visible, but there is a Meebling up there. As you can see, I just got them down, and so now that Meebling is going to fall to the side. I'm going to pull them down, use the red to go to the ground. And so I made this little opening. Now I need to get the blue guys down, because I need all but 1 again to pass this level. And so I got those down, and now I just need to be very careful. And so now I just need to make sure the blue gets over, and I have the right distance. If that yellow went over anymore, it probably would have sucked in the fan, and that would have been game over. But now I just need to be careful and try to turn the fans off and then pull these guys over into the way out. I only need 5, and there we go. Got the 5 all set to go. This one can be tricky, but because it looks very complicated, but in reality, it's really not too hard. All you need to do is pull all these guys over, and then click on the anti-gravity, so the click on the reverse gravity, so gravity goes up, and then click on the gravity again afterwards, after you've pulled the green guy over, and so that way, you know, they can go down. It's a very quick movement thing, so you have to click the pink one before it falls off the screen. And so, as you can see, it's a little tricky, but I managed to get it done pretty quick. And now there's actually a trick for this one. What I do is I pull them to the same side, and then I shout them over to the way out sign on the right. And then I'm already done with that level, yep. And so then there's this level, which again looks confusing at first, but it's really actually super simple. You just push these guys over, pull them over, make sure the yellow on the left doesn't get into the fan, and you just slowly pull them down into the hole and then all the way to the left, and you don't even need all of them in there. You just need the majority. Okay, and this one can be a little tricky. You just have to get the right amount. So what I do is I make sure to try to get all these Meeblings over if possible. And I had a pretty good push on that one, so then I'm going to pull all the others over that I can. Then I'm going to pull down then I'm going to make the red activate, and then I'm going to pull him over. And as soon as I do, I'm going to try to have him sit right at the bottom of the pile, or at the base of the pile, and then push them over, and then keep pulling them in. So I'm going to keep doing that, pushing them in the hole and pulling them back in. Try not to lose any if possible. So I'm going to keep doing that, and then eventually it'll be just enough, and next level. Now this level, this one can be a very painful level. So you need to get all but one in there. If you have one fall off, it is very hard to complete this level. So I figured out the best way for me to go about beating this is to try to get one of the yellows on the opposite side of the pile. Just one. And so right now I'm just going to slowly use the weight of all the Meeblings to push them gently over. Because if I even lose one, it will basically be near impossible for me to beat this. So again, I messed up there. So I had to try again. And so I'm just trying again and resetting until I feel like until I get the red guy in the right spot. Because if he's not in the right spot, I feel like all the Meeblings are gonna roll too far, and then they're just gonna bounce out of the way out sign, and that would just ruin the run. And so now I managed to get a yellow over there, so I'm going very slow and trying to be very careful because I feel like I got the right moment going. And so now it's just the patience and carefulness that needs to be practiced. Patience is a virtue, as they say, and patience is necessary for this part of the speedrun. So I'm just continuing to slowly inch them over to the way out sign. So I don't want to start inching over the next one until the one before it has fallen there down below. Because if I do, then I'll end up pulling them out of the way out sign, and then I'll have to reset again. And that's the last thing we want for the speedrun. So right now we're at 23:32, and so we're doing pretty okay time-wise. Now this one, for some reason, this level always gave me some sort of trouble. I don't know why. All you need is 10 of them to go over the top of that ridge, but if you pull them up too high and to the right, they'll end up actually going out of the map and dying, which is a little annoying, so you can end up being like short on Meeblings. But so far, I felt like I was doing okay because I was like, oh, I already have 7. Okay, cool. Thinking I was in a pretty good moment. But the thing is, trying to get them over the wall really was not that easy for me. And so I think I ended up like messing around trying to get them over for quite some time. It really shouldn't be that difficult, but I was just fumbling this part of the run. But while we're watching me struggle with this moment, I wonder if any of you also used to play this on cool math games as kids. If you did, let me know. Because I remember sitting in like a computer lab at a school, and I used to play this just sitting there, and it was just something to do. It wasn't like that this was an amazing game, but it looks like we finally got the ones over, and there we go. So now we just want to turn that guy into a tree, and we want to have him bounce over. And while this game may not have been like the most craziest game in the world, it was definitely entertaining for someone who didn't feel like doing schoolwork in the computer lab. So now we get the one coming over, boom, done. We just needed the one. Now this level can be difficult, but as soon as you know the tricks for it, it's usually pretty easy. So you just want to get all these guys over to the left and away from the red fan, and then you're going to activate the red dude. He's going to make a small hole. Then we're going to pull them over as much at, like, almost all the way to the point where the red dude is still, like, underneath the logs. And then when we change the gravity back, make sure to click on the yellow dude, because if you don't, he'll roll down, and you actually won't be able to pull them all over efficiently, and it won't be able to get enough of the Meeblings over to finish the level. Now this level should not be hard. It should not be. But unfortunately, I wasted so much time. I messed up so many times during this run of the speedrun. And yes, I probably could have gone faster if I had just not fumbled this portion of the run. Right here, it looks like it was going pretty dang well. But then, you know, after a bit, so the pink one needs to come over, and you can't lose any of them, really. You need, not all of them to complete it, but you need the large majority. So right now I need to get the red guy over, but that's when I messed up, because I was trying to get them to all be together, but now I have to click on the pink one, and so they started going up the hole. And, I just remember all the moments. You're going to see all the moments I messed up on this level. And I messed up on this level many times in other runs, too. This level should not be that hard, but it just was for me. I don't know why, but it just was. And so, now all I needed to do was pull them over. But here was also the problem. It would have been better if I had them all on the other side to go over. And then I ended up killing those two in the process. After wasting like 5 minutes on the same level, I am finally getting close to beating it. And I believe this is the time in which where I'm finally able to beat the level. It was so infuriating, because it's not a hard level. It shouldn't be that hard, but I just kept messing up. So now I'm trying to be as careful as I bloody can. I'm even using the yellows to pull on the red. I'm just like, okay, I need to make sure they all go down. I need to make sure that nothing bad happens. Trying to be as controlled as I possibly can. Make sure all the Meeblings are on the right side. This level shouldn't be hard, but it drove me so insane for no reason whatsoever. And so I had the wonderful troubles of this fun time. So that yellow one was stuck up there, which I was like, please no. So what I did is I did the most logical thing I could, was use the blue to shout him down. I need to make sure they all get together, but I also want to make sure they're not too close to the right side, or else they maybe bounce off the screen. So I'm trying to get them all close to the center. Now I have the yellow on that left side. That is perfect. I need that yellow to be there, so that way I can pull them into the way outside. This level was just making me lose my mind. I was like having such an amazing run beforehand, trying to beat 44 minutes. We're on level 45, or 44 minutes 30 seconds. We're on level 45, and we only had a few more levels to go. But I wasted so much time, so I was like, I'm throwing this run. But finally, I managed to beat that level. Thank goodness. So now, there probably is a different way to go about beating this level, like most of these levels, but I have my own special way of doing it. I make sure I try to break through. I break through the log. I bring the yellow there, and I try to have them just fall straight down into the way out sign. This time I kind of messed up, but eventually I managed to get it like right on the point. Also, I am a little sick while recording this, so apologies if you hear me coughing or sneezing or whatever other noises you hear from me being sick. I am recovering okay. I'm doing just fine. But so I just continue to try getting the little Meeblings in the right spot. And so right there seemed to be a good place, but I don't think I managed to get them in the right spot. Although I could shout that one over and they fall right in perfect, all set to go. Now this one, we want the yellows not to go too far down because then they'll die, but we want them to hit that, and if they go too far without me reversing the gravity again, they will go into the red fan, and that will cause them to die there. We only need 6, so it's not too bad, but it should be a-okay. So we got 6 right there. That's our 6th. We go to the next level. Now this level can either be very easy or a little annoying and tedious. So we want to get our red dude right on the spot, but we messed up, so we had to reset. We need to get a hole right through the top so we can actually use the blue one to shout the yellows over to the way out sign. They'll end up going up over that little ridge and through, but I didn't like the placement of that, so I decided to reset. I wanted to either get the first 2 or the blocks, like what I like to label them 2 and 3. So we managed to get 2 and 3, and so now we're just trying to shout them over the edge. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll use the yellows to actually pull the blue one closer, so that way there's more power to push. But sometimes when I do that, it ends up pushing them straight up and up to the higher level, and they'll get stuck up there, which is a little annoying, but I can always pull them back using another yellow, and that's always an option. So we only have to get about 13, I believe, into the way out sign, so it's not too bad. As you saw, I tried to pull them in together, but then I got a yellow up there. But we're almost there. We just need a few more. So we got a couple more yellows coming up, or we got 1. So we're very close. Just need to get last few maybe. And I think, yep, 1 more to get 13. And almost there. And I think this will be our last one. Yep, there we go. And now this level is like clicking perfect. World record managed to do this first try. I'm not as good as world record when it comes to perfect clicking moments. And so what you have to do is try to get the blue one while it's falling. And the thing is, you have to make sure you are holding on to the yellow one long enough so that way it doesn't get pushed over by the other weight from the other yellow. So you see, I'm managing to actually click on the blue one a little bit to get them over, but then finally I actually get them both to fly over. And now this is the last level, which isn't too hard. Sometimes I tend to mess up, and I did mess up a good deal on this one, on several of my runs. And so I was trying to make sure to be very careful and make sure I get the right setup before I try to go. You only need to get 3, so it's not anything super crazy, but it still can be somewhat difficult if you're rushing. And even if you're not rushing, it can just be somewhat difficult in general. So I managed to get those 3 up there, and now I was trying to think about, okay, how am I going to get them all to go over? So I was thinking maybe I would shout them over, then I try pulling over with the yellow. And so I'm slowly trying to move them over, but it didn't seem like this one was working too much. So I believe in the end I ended up resetting. Yep, and so I reset, and I try one more time. And so I'm pulling them over. They end up getting eaten by the fans. I say eaten. The fans have mouths, absolutely. No, and so I'm just trying to get this last little bit and get them over. And so we're coming up. We're at the 47. We're at 40 minutes right now, And so we're really close to getting world record actually. So I'm like, okay, how am I gonna do this? I gotta finish them. I managed to shout them over. I turn off the gravity and they go down. And then right there, boom, I finished it and I stopped my timer. I managed to finish it at 41 minutes .77. And that looks like it's world record. So if you like the video, please make sure to follow, like, and leave a comment below. All right, you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.